Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 6 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Oaks Friday is the Grade 3 Edgewood Stakes for 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. Let's take a look at this field. And Mike, it could be argued that the most talented 3-year-old filly in the country is not running in the Kentucky Oaks. She's newspaper of record, and she's running in the Edgewood at 3-5 off a layoff.
Yeah, I think that might be true. It'll be very interesting to see what she does in her 3-year-old debut here, because I think you're right. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's not the biggest race on the card on Friday, but I'm not more interested than anybody else just to see what she does here. Her 3 races as a juvenile on the turf were outstanding performances.
Destroyed those fields in all 3, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, where Irad Ortiz just allowed her to roll from the starting gate. She handles yielding ground. That's all she's handled in all 3 of her lifetime starts, and she basically played with that field. It was a tremendous effort and one of the better performances on Breeders' Cup weekend. Are you concerned if this course comes up firm? She's never stepped on a firm turf course. I'm usually not too concerned about Chad horses off layoffs, but I guess you always have to worry about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do. I guess you do have to a little bit. I'm not worried about how she'll handle firm turf, but it's at least a question you want to ask yourself for a horse who's going to be, 1-5 in this race. You always want to ask yourself at short prices like that, is there a reason to at least take a shot against her? Maybe the layoff could be that. Maybe the fact that she's never been on anything but yielding ground could be that. I had a tough time looking at the race that way, but I would understand anybody who wanted to think about those things.
Chad has newspaper of record. He also has the second choice on the morning line, the number 2, Cambier Park. A horse that sold for $1.25 million as a yearling and is a perfect 2-4-2 on turf in her career. She has already won a graded stakes. She has a recency advantage over newspaper of record. I thought her win in the Here Comes the Bride was more workmanlike than anything else. I thought she had a really nice trip sitting close to a moderate pace, and she was able to get it done. If newspaper of record comes back as the newspaper of record of last year, Cambier Park's going to have to do better.
Yeah, she can't beat her if newspaper record comes back as good as she was or even better. We'll see what happens with Cambier Park. If I'm being honest, I know she's 2-for-2 on turf. The figures say that she's maybe the second likeliest winner of the race. I don't know. I'm not blown away with any of her races. She got it done both times, but I just wasn't thrilled with it. If she's going to be the second choice, I'll probably try and beat her in exactas.
Let's throw up the Timeform U.S. pace projector for the Edgewood. Newspaper of record is the best horse on paper, and she might end up getting the best trip if she can sneak away to another uncontested early lead. The number 4, Fortunate Girl, is sitting second on our Timeform U.S. pace projector. She was a lot more comfortable coming from off the pace last time out at Keeneland, and why not? The pace was very fast. They ran the opening quarter mile of that mile in a 16th heat in 22 seconds flat. Fortunate Girl took advantage. 2 starts back, though, she was on the lead in the Memorial. I just couldn't find the excuse for that loss.
There really wasn't. I mean, I don't know how she didn't win that race. Not that the filly that ran her down is not good. She is pretty good, but I don't know how this filly didn't win that race. Her 2 races, there are 2 turf races where they took her back off the pace a little bit and let her run through the stretch, and I think they're probably the 2 best races she's run. They're going to have to do that here because I don't think she can make the front in this race. I don't love any of her races, Dan, but I can see her getting the right trip in this race.
Concrete Rose might be the one filly to make newspaper of record sweat. The only loss in her career came to newspaper of record in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, but she did not have to like the extremely soft turf conditions at Churchill Downs that day. She tried to make a move into the race and was flicked away. She returned to the Florida Oaks, and I thought it was a nice comeback effort. She was pressing 3 wide every step of the way. She moved in company with a couple of other horses, and she won a bunched up finish at the wire. The runner-up came back to run second with an 81 in New York.
Yeah, listen, this filly's run well basically in all of her races. You can give her the pass for the Breeders' Cup, as you say. The yielding turf, she didn't have to love. I mean, she was no match for newspaper record that day, but at least if you wanted to excuse it, you could excuse it. I think she's pretty good, and maybe she is the most likely upsetter in the race. I don't like the Florida Oaks as a race overall. She ran fine in there. She was off the layoff. She was just sort of grinding away through the stretch, and she got it done. I'm just not thrilled with that race overall. So I just sort of felt like, maybe she'll just be the second likeliest winner in here. But maybe she's another horse I would try and take a shot against in exactas.
Another horse coming out of the Florida Oaks is the number 3, Winter Sunset. And I really liked her seasonal debut. She won the first 2 starts of her career, including that little stakes race at the fairgrounds 2 starts back. I thought that was a nice performance that set her up for the Florida Oaks, and I was a bit surprised that she was close to the pace in the Oaks. She was pressing too wide in between horses, and she finished evenly in between horses. I expected a little bit more of an acceleration. I wonder if Channing Hill just takes her back and hopes for the best.
Be more forgiving for her Florida Oaks than maybe I will for the winner, Concrete Rose. She didn't run great in there, but it wasn't terrible, and it really was the first time they really bumped her up in class. I liked both of her first two starts. I thought that, you know, that race 2 back that you're talking about, the seasonal debut, she just didn't break from the gate, wound up last of the 5, and then got into a duel with a 2-5 favorite through the stretch, and she was able to prevail. I really liked her career debut, too, where they had the rails, they just put her on the front, but she always travels in that race like she was going to run, and she did run. I think there's a chance this filly's pretty good.
She's got that big pedigree again. The 7 is Destiny Over Fate, trying turf for the first time. She is by Drill. It's too early to tell whether the Drills will be good on the turf. He is 0 for 12 with first-time turf runners. This dam 0 for 1 on the turf. I just don't see any grass in this pedigree. Formulator Fact. Don't let the Formulator Fact dissuade you. This is going to be a big-priced runner. Past 5 years, 3-year-olds dirt to turf, 0 for 22. I actually liked this horse's win 3 starts back and a non-winners of 1 other than on dirt, but it came in slow time, and this is a big ask.
Yeah, it's just a real, especially for a horse who doesn't have a lot of turf pedigree, to make your turf debut in a race where a newspaper of record is entered, it's going to be really hard for this horse to win.
New Rue, the 6, is also going to make her turf debut. Dominus, the stallion, 5 for 30 with first-time turf runners. This horse has run well on a synthetic surface, and sometimes that synthetic form translates better to turf than to dirt. An okay third, I thought, in the Bourbonnette Oaks last time out, but I also thought she got some pace to run at that day and got the right setup. She's going to have to do a lot better than the 68 Beyer Top on Synth.
Has a little turf in her pedigree, but just really has to improve in this race.
Time for our top pick in the Grade 3 Edgewood Stakes. Maybe the layoff, maybe the firm turf. We don't think so. I think newspaper of record, if she breaks, she probably gets to the front and she controls things. And if she wins like many folks think she's going to win, there'll be a lot of excitement this spring and summer in New York for Chad Brown.
She's definitely a horse that I think most people are hoping just comes back at least as good as she was as a 2-year-old, because she's a very exciting horse.
Mike's going 1, 3, 5, and 2. I'm going 1, 2, 5, and 3 in the Grade 3 Edgewood, race number 6 at Churchill Downs on Oaks Friday, and it has an approximate post of 1:17 Eastern. Good luck.